The snow fell quietly against the tall windows of the conference room on the 32nd floor. Robert Mitchell, 48 years old with neatly styled brown hair and a gray suit that spoke of authority, sat at the head of the mahogany table. He had built Mitchell & Associates from nothing, and now, 15 years later, it stood as one of the city's most respected consulting firms. But success had come with sacrifices. His marriage had ended 3 years ago. His daughter lived across the country, and somewhere along the way, Robert had forgotten what it felt like to simply care. Today was December 23rd, the quarterly review meeting. 6 department heads sat around the table, their faces tense. The fourth quarter numbers were disappointing. Someone would have to be let go. "The marketing department is underperforming," Robert said, his voice measured and cold. 42% below projections. "I'm sorry, Catherine, but we'll need to make changes after the holidays." Catherine Walsh was 36, a single mother with warm eyes that now filled with quiet panic. She had curly auburn hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and hands that trembled slightly as she closed her folder. She didn't argue. She simply nodded because she needed this job desperately and because her 5-year-old daughter, Emma, was waiting in the reception area with the company's receptionist. The meeting ended. People filed out silently. Robert remained seated, reviewing the numbers one more time, convincing himself he'd made the right decision. Business was business. Sentiment had no place in boardrooms. Then he heard it. A small voice in the hallway. "Excuse me, mister?" Robert looked up. A little girl stood in the doorway. She had golden curls that fell past her shoulders, bright blue eyes, and wore a pink dress with white tights. In her arms, she clutched a worn teddy bear that had clearly been loved for years. "How did you—" Robert began, but the child walked straight toward him, her small shoes barely making a sound on the carpet. "Are you the boss?" she asked, her voice soft but determined. Yes. I'm Mr. Mitchell, and you shouldn't be in here, sweetheart. Where's your mother?" "She's crying in the bathroom." The little girl's bottom lip quivered, but she stood firm. "I heard her on the phone with Grandma. She said she's losing her job." Robert's jaw tightened. He wasn't prepared for this. In all his years of running the company, he'd never had to face the actual human cost of his decisions. Numbers on spreadsheets didn't have curly-haired daughters. "Business decisions are complicated," he said carefully, not sure why he was explaining himself to a 5-year-old. "Sometimes we have to make difficult choices." The little girl took another step closer. Her teddy bear's ear was torn, stitched back together with mismatched thread. "My mommy works really hard," she whispered. "She comes home tired every night, but she always makes me dinner. She reads me stories. She never complains." Robert felt something crack in his chest, something he'd kept carefully sealed away for years. "I'm sure she does," he said quietly. "Please don't fire my mommy." The child's eyes filled with tears now, but she didn't look away. "It's almost Christmas. We don't need presents. We just need Mommy to have her job. Please." The word please hung in the air between them. Robert remembered another little girl years ago who used to visit his office. His own daughter, Sarah, before the divorce, before the distance grew too wide. She used to sit in his chair and pretend to be the boss. He'd missed so many of her school plays, so many bedtime stories, all for what? For quarterly projections? "What's your name?" Robert asked gently. "Emma. Emma Walsh." "Emma, your mother." "Catherine. She's very lucky to have you. Can she keep her job?" Robert stood up slowly. He walked to the window and looked out at the city covered in snow. Somewhere out there, people were preparing for Christmas. Families were together. Children were excited about Santa Claus. And here he was, in his ivory tower, making decisions that shattered lives. "Emma," he said, turning back to her, "I need you to do something for me. Can you wait in the reception area? I need to talk to your mother." The little girl hesitated, then nodded. She turned to leave, but paused at the door. "Mr. Mitchell?" "My mommy says that kindness is the most important thing, even more important than being successful." After she left, Robert sat back down and put his head in his hands. When had he become this person? When had he started measuring worth in profit margins instead of people? 20 minutes later, Catherine Walsh knocked on his door. Her eyes were red, but she held herself with dignity. Mr. Mitchell, I'm sorry. Emma shouldn't have bothered you. I'll resign effective immediately if— Sit down, Catherine. She sat, her hands folded in her lap, bracing for the worst. I've been reviewing the marketing numbers, Robert said slowly, and I realized I've been looking at them all wrong. You've been managing a department that lost 3 key clients through no fault of your own. Yet you've maintained our social media presence, brought in 4 new prospects, and kept the team motivated through budget cuts. Catherine blinked. I tried my best. Your best is quite good, actually. I'm not firing you, Catherine. In fact, I'm approving the budget increase you requested 3 months ago, and I'm giving you a Christmas bonus. You deserve it. Tears spilled down Catherine's cheeks. I don't understand. What changed? Robert smiled, and it felt strange on his face, like he'd forgotten how. Your daughter reminded me of something I'd forgotten. That behind every employee number, every performance metric, there's a real person, a real family, real lives. She's very special, Catherine whispered. Yes, she is. And so are you for raising such a compassionate child. Go home, Catherine. Spend Christmas with Emma. We'll tackle the new quarter with fresh eyes in January. That evening, as Robert locked his office and walked through the empty building, he felt lighter than he had in years. He stopped by the reception area where Emma and Catherine were bundling up in their coats. Emma, he called out. The little girl turned, her teddy bear tucked under one arm. Robert knelt down to her level. Thank you, he said simply. You taught me something very important today. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is ask for help, and sometimes the wisest thing we can do is listen. Emma smiled, then surprised him by throwing her small arms around his neck in a quick hug. Merry Christmas, Mr. Mitchell. Merry Christmas, Emma. As he watched them leave, mother and daughter hand in hand, Robert pulled out his phone. He scrolled to his daughter Sarah's number, and for the first time in months, he called her. Dad? Sarah's voice was surprised, cautious. Hi, sweetheart. I know it's late, but I was wondering if you might come visit for Christmas. I'd really like to see you. We have a lot of catching up to do. There was a pause, then her voice softened. I'd like that, Dad. I'd really like that. Outside, the snow continued to fall, covering the city in white. Inside Robert Mitchell's heart, something that had been frozen for a very long time began, finally, to thaw. Sometimes it takes the simple honesty of a child to remind us what truly matters. Not the numbers on a balance sheet, not the corner office or the prestigious title, but the connections we make, the kindness we show, and the love we're brave enough to give and receive. That Christmas, Robert Mitchell learned that the greatest gift we can receive is often the one we give, and that it's never too late to remember what it means to be human. The little girl with the teddy bear had whispered a plea to a CEO, and in doing so, she'd changed everything.